audio tested. Misplaced tripod, so I have to use this tripod that my husband used to have his camera on for streaming, but now he's got a whole different setup now that he's chosen. I'm sorry, you guys are gonna have to ignore all my random crap. I either take Tuesday or Wednesday as my day off now that I am a stay-at-home mom for the time being. That is because Tuesdays and Wednesdays are the 2 days out of the week where I am awake for 18 hours, and 12 of those hours I am by myself. My husband is sleeping, my kids are at school, so I take one of these as my day off, which means I do bare minimum housework and just kind of chill out. So I wash the dishes. That's why there's a mess behind me. My counter's kind of a mess, is because today is my day off and I am choosing it to spend with you. So let's actually talk about what we're going to do today. You guys ever have one of those thoughts where it's like, I wonder what would happen if I did this, or I wonder how this works, and then you just kind of, the moment the thought enters your brain, it leaves your brain, and you never actually figure out what happens if, or what if this happened, what, you never research it. Well, I had one of those thoughts. The only difference is I've been thinking about it for like 2 weeks now. So let me come over there and show you guys a little better. Let me get down at your level here. I had a thought the other day after my kids went to bed, and I was doing my get ready for bed routine. And it was, what happens if you take a cake mix, if you take a cake batter, and you mix it with a brownie batter, and you bake it? Would it be more like a brownie? Would it be more like a cake? Would it be the perfect combination of both? And I've been thinking about it, and I thought, I could do it from scratch, make a cake from scratch and make brownies from scratch, and then combine the batters and bake them. But I thought, we're going to start out simple, and we're going to start with boxed cake mixes. Now, you guys leave in the comments down below. I could not. Walmart, 2 Walmarts, another grocery store here in my town, Dollar General, could not find just a chocolate cake mix. All the chocolate ones were labeled as devil's food. I don't know why, but that's just all we have around here. So I got a devil's food cake, and then I wanted to do the same brand because, just to keep everything, I don't know. And then I got chocolate fudge brownie mix. Now, when I was preparing this morning to film this video, I was like, let me just do some research. I want to know, I know what the difference is between a cake and a brownie when you make them from scratch, which, if we like how this turns out, then I do plan on doing another video doing it from scratch, and we will discuss that then. But I do know the difference between a cake batter and a brownie batter when you make them from scratch, because I obviously make them from scratch, so I know the different ingredients and things like one calls for milk, one doesn't, one, I just know the difference. But I found it interesting when I was looking at these, because on the backs here of the stuff you have to add, you add the same things, except for on the devil's food cake, you add less oil, more water, more eggs. Less oil, more water, more eggs. And on the brownie mix, you do more oil, less water, less eggs. But then I got to looking at the ingredients. And the same first 3 ingredients are the exact same, just in a different order. So in the cake, the flour is first, and then it's the sugar, and then it's the cocoa. In the brownies, the sugar is first, then it's the flour, then it's the cocoa. But something else I found interesting is, so the one over here, this is cake, this is brownie. The ingredients list, let me see if I can get this to focus on the ingredients list. The camera's over here, Shannon. You see that? This is the cake. Yeah, this is the cake. And if you look here under the, hello, Helen, let's focus on this, not my face. If you look over here under the contains 2% or less of canola oil, and then you got all these other ingredients listed here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 other ingredients besides the flour, cocoa, sugar. Oh, and the cake also does have leavening in it, which is baking soda, calcium phosphate, sodium, aluminum phosphate. Okay, and the extra ingredients it has is, I need to go to the eye doctor, but we're waiting on our new insurance to kick in. Let's see. Canola oil, propylene glycol, esters of fatty acid, cornstarch, salt, mono, and diglycerides, cellulose, cellulose gum, xanthan gum, sodium sterol, lactylate, natural and artificial flavors, citric acid, and BHT, and red 40. That's all the ingredients in here, right? The flour, the sugar, the cocoa, the leavening, and then the other ingredients that I listed. Now, the brownies have a way smaller ingredients list. So they have the sugar, the flour, the cocoa that's processed with alkali, and then its 2% of less is just canola and or soybean oil, cornstarch, salt, baking soda. So this also has leavening in it. And then natural and artificial flavors. So that's interesting to me. The next thing I find interesting, because my chocolate cake from scratch recipe and my brownie recipe from scratch, they bake at different temperatures for vastly different amounts of time. Not vastly. With like a 10 to 15 minute time difference depending on the day, because weather and humidity and things like that can change cooking processes, if you didn't know that. Anyways, another thing I found interesting is that both of these cook at 350. And then their cook times are also pretty similar. So, they both cook at 350, and then the brownies in a 13x9 pan cook between 38 and 31 minutes, and the cake in a 13x9 inch pan cooks 34 to 38 minutes. Now, the average on that, what I am going to start with, so the average lowest cook time between the both of them is 31 minutes. The highest is 34 minutes. So the highest of the second one and the lowest of the highest of the brownie and the lowest of the cake. So I'm going to start when I bake these for 30 minutes, and we're going to go. Also, I do know that because I'm mixing two batters that this is going to make more than just one pan. So I'm going to do the one pan, and then I'm also going to do muffin tins, because why not? Also, what do I call this series? Because I'm rambling like I always do, because I haven't been here in a while. Maybe I should do a live. Anyways, what was I saying? I do want to make this a series, and not just cakes and brownies, but like, what happens if you make a snickerdoodle dough and a peanut butter dough and mix those together? You know, different things. What would you call that? Kitchen science? Sweet science? Baking science? Food science? What am I going to name this series? I don't know. Also, leave any ideas that you may have for the series down below. I also had an interesting thought, because angel food cake is a very, what's the word I'm looking for? Words. It's a very, it's in a league of its own in the cake world. Not a league of its own. It's like its own thing. Like, it's different from a cake. Like, even pound cake is kind of similar to a regular cake, but angel food cake is, in my opinion, vastly different than other cakes. But, like, what would happen if I mixed an angel food cake and a pound cake and baked those? You know, things like that. If these cats knock over this tripod, we don't have a problem. Anyways, let me stop rambling. let me get back over here and let's do the thing. Okay. First things first, I'm gonna preheat my oven to 350. I'm also gonna take my cast iron skillet and my pan of oil that I only use for frying up tortillas for tacos out of the oven, because I always forget to do that. Okay. This is for the cake right here, and these over here are for the brownies. I need to get the eggs out. We need a total of 5 eggs. I also just thought I should have got an extra mix of both so that we could make them separately and actually compare, but listen, we're learning as we go, and this is what we got today. I do have an extra box of brownies, but we all know what cake is like. Anyways, I'm about to squirt these dang shots if they don't get away from my camera. Alright, we're going to start. I'm going to use this bowl to mix them both in, and I'm going to make the cake in that one, so I'm going to move I'm going to move it over here out of the way. Ignore the mess you see in the background. I do have dinner going in the crock pot. And if you're thinking, Shannon, how is that one? Where are you at? Where is the crock pot? What is that one tiny little crock pot going to feed my family of 5? Well, today it only has to feed 4. Tonight it only has to feed 4 of us. And it's just shredded chicken with taco seasoning and salsa to make quesadillas. Because like I said, it's my day off, so we're doing something easy. Anyways, we're gonna do the brownie mix first. So, first I'm gonna crack my eggs, and let's see, 2 eggs in the brownies. Powder in. Also, the cake, is it the cake or the brownies? It's the cake. The cake says to use your hand mixer. I'm not doing all that. My husband is sleeping because he works nights and doesn't get home until 6 o'clock in the morning, and I don't feel like waking him up. Okay, and then we've got, and look at me being prepared. I measured out all of my ingredients ahead of time. Look at me go. Except for there's something got into this water. Let me get it out. There's a piece of my hair. So this is 2/3 cup of oil. And this is a 1/4 cup of water. In the bowl, I got my whisk, and we're just going to whisk this up until it's nice and smooth. But keep in mind, especially out of a box, when you are making a brownie mix, it is not going to be perfectly smooth even if you beat it with a hand mixer. Unless, of course, you like sift the powder in the. Listen, I ain't got time to sift. Even when I do homemade, like from scratch, I don't sift my stuff. It's just. It doesn't make that big of a difference in the final product for me to make it worth my time and energy to sift. Okay, brownie mix, done. I'm going to set it over here to the side. I'm going to rinse the whisk. And we're going to do the cake next. For this we need 3 eggs. So, and don't harp on me for touching my face. My family's the only people who are going to be eating this. It's not like I'm sending it to work with my husband or nothing. Because this is an experiment. My hypothesis is that this is just gonna come out as a really rich chocolate cake. Like, it's gonna come out with the consistency of chocolate cake. That is my hypothesis. We'll see. I could be completely wrong. And this could completely fail. It could turn out to be like soup and not cook up. But, okay, so that was 3 eggs. Now we're gonna do the powder. I also wanted to make sure that I got mixes that didn't have like chocolate chunks or, you know, the fudge packets that sometimes come with brownies that you mix in. I wanted to make sure that I was not getting those because I just want this to be plain old brownies and plain old chocolate cake. Okay. And for the cake, we have 1 cup of water and a 1/2 cup of oil. I do have other measuring cups and other ramekins, but these were already out drying on my dish rack, so that's what we got. Okay, and now we're gonna whisk this together. Now I'm gonna show you this one is like a very liquidy batter. That is the cake. I guess I'll go ahead and use this for the brownie because I'm gonna have to use it to scrape it in there anyways. Whereas the brownie batter is a lot thicker. You see, you get, let's see if I can do this in time. See, like this gives a nice glossy, thick, slow dripping ribbon, whereas this is just like a thicker, not thicker, a thinner, more thin, and I wouldn't call that ribbony. I would call that, I don't know what I would call it. Anyways, now I'm going to take the brownie mix and I'm going to scrape it and get all of it that I can out of this bowl. Okay. And now we're going to whisk that together. See, I got as much of it as possible. So I would say that mixing the two together and looking at it in batter form, it is kind of the perfect mix between the two consistencies. Like, it's not pouring, it is ribboning quite nicely. I'm just using big words to pretend like I know what I'm talking about. I don't know what I'm talking about. I am not professionally trained. I learned to cook and bake from my grandma. And I've been cooking dinner. I cooked dinner for my family starting at the age of 8 until I moved out at 16. I do have a lot of experience, but I am not a professional. So, and I do have 2 dishes, 13x9s, that I can use. For some reason, I thought one broke. Do as I say, not as I do. I'm just going to spray these with Pam. What you should do is you should either spray them with Pam and put flour or cocoa powder in them, or rub them with a little bit of butter or oil and do that, but I'm not doing that today. I'm just spraying with Pam. Also, though, you can get spray like this that already has the flour in it. I've never tried it. I don't know how well it works. Should I try it? Should we do a test? Oh, also, side note, I'm squirrel. I got new pots and pans. These are the Blue Diamond ones. Let me know if you want a review. I've only had them for about a week now. So, let me know if you want a review maybe in a month or 2 to see how these hold up against my Tefal ones, which if you know, if you've been here for any amount of time, you know Tefal has been my favorite. They are by far, well, I refuse to spend more than $150 on a set of pots and pans. Because that just seems outrageous to me. So they are the best affordable Tefal so far. The best affordable ones that you can buy at like Walmart that I have found. The set that I have has lasted me 4 or 5 years. Maybe even 6. I have tried out different ones in the past, but I always hung on to my Tefal ones because they were always still in great condition. But, like I said, I've had them for 6 years. I have a child that is learning to cook who didn't understand the proper way to take care of them, and so they are, you know, finally starting to show their age, and so it was time to replace them. So I do no longer have them, but I went back and forth on whether I was just going to replace them with the Tefal again or if I wanted to try something different. And I have heard good things about the Blue Diamond, so we are trying the Blue Diamond. Spread this out. There is still a little bit of batter in here, but I need to see which pan I think needs it more. I'm gonna spread it all out. I can already tell that I think it's this one. As much of this out of here as I can. Whoops. Anyways, make sure this is spread out nice and even. Alright. Should I taste it? Let's taste it. Well, I know. Nobody comment that you're not supposed to because of the raw eggs. I don't care. I've done it my whole life. I'm 32 years old, fixing to be 33, and I'm still alive and kicking, and I ain't got nothing from doing this. So, let's taste it. Interesting. The flavor leans more towards a cake batter, but like a extra sweet cake batter, which kind of makes me nervous. But anyways, my oven's preheated to 350. I'm gonna put these in. We'll bring you back in 30 minutes to check and see if they're done. And if they kind of, I don't know how I feel about the flavor of the cake batter, and that's making me nervous. But for science purposes, we're gonna keep on keeping on. Right, and I will see you guys back in 30 minutes. Okay, so I'm bringing y'all in. It's been in the oven for about 18 minutes now, and so I just want to show you how it's baking up, because this is intriguing me. As you can see, the top is baking up like a cake, but the edges are cooking up like, crisping up is what I meant to say, like brownie. So that is just something I noticed as I was giving it a, oh, I got chocolate on my face. As I was giving that a little sneak peek while it was in the oven, I just thought that was fascinating and thought I'd throw that in here. Alright, toodaloo, see you in a little bit. Okay, it has been 30 minutes. We're going to check both of them. Flip the toothpick over, Shannon. Yeah. I'm going to recheck this one. Sorry if you just had to look in my trash can. Let's recheck this one. So that one seems to be more done than the other one. I'm gonna give it another 5 minutes. Alrighty, it's been 5 minutes. Ooh, and now y'all are foggy. This is hard to do. All the way down to the bottom. Clean all the way out. All the way to the bottom. Clean all the way out. Alright. Let's get these out of the oven so they can cool off. So they can cool off. Beep, 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 beep. Oh, I need my oven mitts. I really need to invest in new ones. My kids got a hold of this one with scissors. This one's just really old. I don't even really know where this came from, to be fair. So I need to invest in new ones, but right. They are out of the oven. Let's flip you around what they look like. Okay, so they both look similar, obviously. The tops look like cake. This feels like cake. Yes, they're hot, so I can't really touch. That feels like the top of a cake. Now, the edges here, where they feel like the edges of a cake at the moment, because they're still really hot, they look like they're going to be crispy, like the edges of a brownie. So, these cool cat, get out of the cabinet. Get out. My cabinets are open, per usual. And my cats are okay. I'm gonna let these sit and cool for a little while I go get my husband up and get his lunch ready and prepared and all of that stuff. And then before my kids get home, we will take a look at them, cut them, see what they look like. Alright? Bye! Okay. Here it is. It's been out for about an hour and a half-ish. So we're gonna cut it and see what it looks like. Look, don't come at me for the paper plates. If you are, if you've been around for a while, we pretty much strictly use these. Hold on. Alright, I'm cutting me a piece and my husband a piece. Anyway, we strictly use paper plates for the most part in this house. It is what it is. If you don't like it, then this isn't the channel for you, but you don't gotta comment anything about it. Thank you. So I was correct in the fact that it was going to turn out like a more cakey texture, but the edges, I don't know if you'll be able to hear this, are a little bit crispy like a brownie. So I was correct in my hypothesis that this was going to be more of a cake texture. But, and then move this out of the way. Shall we take a bite? Oh, well, let's look at it. The top is moist and a little bit sticky and what I would say a little bit fudgy, but it's just a very thin layer of that. This is what the bottom looks like. Just like the bottom of a piece of cake. The sides kind of look more like a brownie. And then, like I said, the edges are kind of harder and more crunchy. So let's taste it, shall we?
What was that? Oh my god, dude. Here I come. Coming, going. Just know that whenever you're coming,
In my opinion, it has the flavor of a brownie with the texture of a cake, which I don't think I'm a fan of. But I'm going to go let my husband taste it, and then I will be back with his thoughts. He does not really like to be on camera, so I will just come back and reiterate his thoughts to you. Okay, be right back. Okay, so me and my husband are on pretty much the same wavelength with this. The flavor is like a little bit of a watered down brownie flavor. The texture is definitely cake. And so it definitely needs a cream cheese frosting in our baking. We don't like buttercream or whipped frosting in our house. We just always use cream cheese. It's the best on every flavor. I don't care. But we are definitely frosting on cake people in this house. And this definitely needs a frosting. I think that's what it's missing. It's just kind of flat. In that way. Yeah. And that's pretty much all I have to say about it. I would be curious now to try it with like a vanilla cake mix. Should we put that on the list? Anyways, but definitely needs a frosting. Overall, decent. Like if I was at my kids had to go to a birthday party and the cupcakes that they served tasted like this, I wouldn't be upset. If I paid for cupcakes and they tasted like this, I would be upset because I can make them better, you know what I mean? That's kind of what it tastes like. It kind of tastes like a store-bought Walmart chocolate cake. That's kind of exactly what it tastes like now that I say that out loud. Or like the, you know how you can get like the lemon loaf slices? You can also get the chocolate flavored ones. Kind of tastes like that too a little bit. Alright, that's going to be it for me, guys. Toodaloo!